The evening air carried a heavy stillness as the familiar theme music faded into the background of a Quinn Martin production. The Streets of San Francisco, starring Carl Malden and Richard Hatch, was about to unfold a story of shadows and redemption. Tonight, the guest stars included John Rubinstein, Devin Erickson, Joanne Nail, and Linda Marsh in an episode titled Once a Con. The night began with a simple act of kindness. A young woman expressed her gratitude, saying she appreciated someone taking it and asking if it would be too much work. The response was a gentle assurance that it was no trouble at all and that she enjoyed it. The plan was set. Rosie would have her little friend back by Saturday, good as new. But as the goodnights were exchanged, a chilling sense of dread filled the air. A voice called out into the darkness, asking if someone was there. Judd, she thought, wondering if this was a cruel joke intended to scare her. But the silence was broken by a desperate plea for help. In the frantic moments that followed, a witness reported the attack to the authorities. The caller, refusing to give a name, urgently directed help to the southeast section of the campus, where Bundy crosses Fielder. A girl was being attacked, and time was of the essence. Amidst the chaos of the scene, a bystander shouted at someone to watch where they were going, while the solemn words of a prayer for mercy and comfort echoed over the fallen. Lieutenant Mike Stone and Inspector Dan Robbins arrived at the scene. The victim, a Catholic girl with a medal around her neck, was identified as Mary Wilson. She was nearly 21 years old and lived in a nearby sorority house. Although she carried over $80 credit cards and an expensive watch, none of it was taken. This was not a robbery. The brutality of the crime suggested something far more personal. Her esophagus had been severed, a deliberate act of violence. The only thing missing was a ring that left a visible mark on her finger, as if someone had removed it in a great hurry. At the detention center, Officer Nelson taunted the inmates on the school release program. He called them short-termers and mocked their demands for heat and cleanliness. To him, the rehabilitation program was nothing more than a scam. He singled out Walter Young, calling him a wise guy and threatening that one day he would be late, and then he would be back in the yard with the main population where he belonged. Back at the sorority house, Stone and Robbins spoke with Mary's roommate, Jackie Collins. Jackie explained that Mary was a theater arts major, specializing in 19th century puppetry. She was always helping children fix their dolls. Jackie and Mary had both come from Wisconsin, which was why they had been paired as roommates. When asked about potential enemies or boyfriends, Jackie mentioned a past relationship with someone whose name she couldn't quite remember, suggesting it was something odder than Jack or Jim. She pointed the detectives toward Tina Harrington, Mary's best friend and an art major. The investigation turned toward the missing ring. A photograph of Mary from a skiing trip 3 weeks prior showed the ring clearly. Jackie confirmed that Mary never took it off and that it was very special to her, having been given to her about a month ago. Meanwhile, Walter Young was in a state of panic. He met with his cellmate, Ray Busquez, confessing that he had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. He had been off campus, out of his designated zone, when he saw the girl being mugged. He had fled before the police arrived, knocking over a young witness in the process. Walter begged Ray to provide an alibi, claiming they were together at the newspaper office. Ray was hesitant, informing Walter that the girl hadn't just been mugged, she had been murdered. Despite the gravity of the situation, Ray agreed to cover for him. The detectives continued to track down leads. They visited the apartment of Tina Harrington, but she was away visiting her parents. Jackie Collins mentioned that she had heard Mary's ex-boyfriend, Judd Davis, had a mean streak and was always trying to prove he was macho. At the lab, a blow-up of the ring from the photograph revealed that it was custom-made and relatively new, with little wear on the ridges. Stone decided to distribute flyers of the ring to local jewelry stores. He then met with Whitey Zellers, the head of campus security. Zellers, a former colonel, was no fan of the student release program, viewing the inmates as a threat to the decent students on campus. He narrowed his suspects down to 3 cons who were on campus at the time of the murder, including Walter Young. Stone, who had sponsored Walter, felt a personal responsibility to find the truth. Walter Young met with his girlfriend, Lisa Deming. He told her they needed to stay away from each other for a few weeks because the police were looking for him. He was terrified of going back to prison for a crime he didn't commit. Lisa urged him to tell the truth, but Walter was convinced the system would only see him as a criminal. Stone confronted Walter in the campus gym. Walter was defensive, believing Stone only wanted a confession. Stone reminded him that no one said the transition back to society would be easy. Walter claimed he was at the newspaper office with Ray at the time of the killing. However, when Robbins checked the story, the other students at the newspaper confirmed Ray was there, but no one mentioned seeing Walter. The investigation shifted to Judd Davis. When the detectives found him, he tried to run because he was in possession of illegal pills. Under questioning, Judd denied killing Mary. He claimed he was at a motel with the wife of one of his professors. Though reluctant to ruin her reputation, the woman, Mrs. Hart, eventually confirmed his alibi, though she did so with great shame. Just as the leads seemed to dry up, Ray Busquez contacted the police. He admitted that he had lied for Walter. He had a son, Raimundo Sergio Vasquez Jr., and he didn't want to risk his own parole by covering for a murderer. He revealed that he hadn't seen Walter until after midnight on the night of the crime. Stone was devastated but remained committed to the truth. He and Robbins went to the physical therapy gym to find Walter. There, they saw Walter helping a young boy named Peter learn to swim again. Walter was encouraging the boy, telling him not to listen to those who said he couldn't do it. It was a moment of pure humanity that made Stone question the evidence against him. At the same time, Tina Harrington was preparing to fly back to Wisconsin with Mary's body. Jackie Collins tried to comfort her, but Tina was consumed by hatred for the person who killed her friend. The evidence against Walter seemed to solidify when a witness identified him from a lineup as the man he saw fleeing the scene. Furthermore, a search of Walter's school locker revealed a knife that appeared to be the murder weapon. Walter was arrested and charged with murder in the first degree. However, a new witness stepped forward. Lisa Deming went to see Lieutenant Stone. She confessed that Walter was with her in her apartment on the night of the murder. They had witnessed the attack from her window. It was Lisa who had called the police, and it was Walter who had told her what to say. Stone played back the recording of the emergency call. The voice on the tape matched Lisa's description of the events perfectly, providing the exact location of the crime before the operator could even ask. This proved that Walter could not have been the attacker, as he was with Lisa watching it happen. Despite this evidence, Walter Young, feeling hopeless and pressured by a cocky assistant district attorney named Billings, made a full confession. Billings had offered him a plea deal for murder in the second degree, promising a chance at parole in a few years. Walter believed that with the knife in his locker and the eyewitnesses, he stood no chance in court. Stone visited Walter in jail, furious that he had given up. He urged Walter to have faith in him. Stone believed someone had planted the knife in Walter's locker. He convinced Walter to plead not guilty and promised to find the real killer. The breakthrough came when a jeweler named Mr. Thorgeson identified the missing ring. His son had made several variations of that specific design. Thorgeson provided a list of customers who had purchased his work. Stone looked at the list and found a name that connected everything. Stone and Robbins went to see Tina Harrington and Jackie Collins one last time. Tina was about to leave for the airport. Stone asked Tina if she had purchased the ring at Thorgeson's and given it to Mary. Tina confirmed it was a friendship ring and asked for it back. Stone then pointed out the inconsistency. If the ring had no monetary value, why would a robber kill for it? He turned his attention to Jackie Collins. Stone revealed that he knew Jackie worked in the student records office and had access to Walter's locker location. He accused her of killing Mary out of a jealous obsession with Tina and then planting the weapon to frame Walter. Jackie, realizing the fingerprints on the knife would give her away, broke down and confessed. She claimed it was an accident, that she only meant to scar Mary because she was so beautiful and she feared losing Tina to her. In the end, justice was served. Walter Young was cleared of all charges and remained in the college program. He continued his work at the gym, helping Peter take his first steps toward recovery. Stone and Robbins watched from the sidelines, knowing that while the world was often cynical, a little trust and a lot of persistence could still make a difference. As they walked away, Stone was informed of some campus gossip. It seemed some were calling him a bleeding heart, while others had less flattering terms. Stone just smiled, knowing that the truth was worth the effort, no matter what names he was called. The streets of San Francisco remained as they were, a place of both tragedy and hope, under the watchful eyes of those dedicated to protecting them.